simple. How many gallons of pollutants before, how many gallons of pollutants after, what's the increase? That's really what I'm kind of looking for.
And that's in my technical support document that I have out, that's available, it's online, it's also at the
What
main
can you tell
library.
us today in front of all these folks?
I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. I don't have that, I gave the just general information here, and unfortunately I forgot the copy of the fact sheet. Like I said, it's online. I do have a copy of the permits. And I can pass around a couple copies of the 2 permits that we have drafted.
Well, because what you say is there should not be you're here because of a potential significant increase in pollutants going into the air, which means that if it's a moderate increase, that's okay, but if it's significant, probably not okay. I just don't understand how much extra we're going to get.
I will pass around these. You can pass these around.
Thank you.
Just want to pass that over. That's one of the permits, and then here's.
Yeah, the pen dropped. I will
So,
grab
Chris,
a
can
copy
you
of
tell
that
us
fact
that
sheet later.
the increase in capacity is essentially proportional to the increase in pollutants that go into the air?
I can't necessarily say that because the limit is they're getting a more stringent limit after this. So the limit that they will have after this, and I don't, is 788 tons per year is the total amount they're allowed after this. And
Tons per year of processed material?
Tons per year of VOC emissions.
Okay.
And that's on the 180,000 bushels.
Well, what is being emitted anyway?
What's that?
What is the chemical that's being emitted that we call a pollutant?
Volatile organic compounds is a large group, and out of that, in this case, mostly it's hexane.
So hexane. What's the risk of hexane to our health?
I don't have that information right in front of me. I'm sorry. I don't have it memorized.
Is there any part of hexane that's cancerous, or is it
I know it's a hazardous air pollutant, but which means it is considered toxic. But I do not have. Again, most of that is in the supporting documentation that was with my fact sheet, which I've got the fact sheet, which is like 30 pages, and then most of the supporting documentation that I reference is in there, including information about hexane. You can also do a Google search on hexane, I'm sure, and come up with that. But I know I have that information in that support document.
Is there like what do they call an MSDA sheet on hexane?
MSDS, a material safety
Yeah.
data sheet. There would be. Those would be available. Those are out there. There's quite a bit. of
Surely we're not getting close to an LD50 on any of this emission.
That would be a different type of standard that you look at.
But this is I'm just trying to find how close we're getting to being poisoned by this stuff, or if it's just such a minor amount, we don't really care.
If you want to make that as a comment during the comment period, I can gather more information on that and send it to you.
Fair enough, sir.
I just don't have all that information memorized or right here available on hand.
We have an elementary school just a block away from this plant. I'd like to know, and I'm sure the parents in the school would like to know also, what effect this hexcon or whatever hexane is going to do with young kids, 4 to 5-year-old kids in their development. What's going to happen in 12 years on this? Do you have any information on that?
I don't know if I have that. I could find something, find some information, but that's really that's really not handled by our office. I would, that'd be more of a health, from a health. I don't want to say OSHA, but along those lines. But I could sure try to gather more information, so.
I think that would, actually, I'm gonna ask if we, once we get this meeting done, if we can't have another meeting where you have all the information.
You can request that, I can't guarantee anything on that, but I really need to open it up for comments, so people can make their comments, and then I can try to answer as much as I can afterward. But, that's, and I guess I would urge that folks take a look at what I have as far as on our docket, as far as online. It's also with the main library is where they keep everything, so, there's quite a bit of information there. Like I said, it's hexane is the main pollutant, so, you can find more information online, but you can make those requests, and, I can take those back to, my management, because, we're going through our procedures as far as our comment period, the 30 days, and if people want to request more time, we'd have to, look at that, look at those requests, see what information we can get you. We also have to look at what, our rules, whether or not, they're meeting the rules that are in place. Because again, we have a certain amount of rules, and if those regulations are being met, our authority is whether or not those regulations are met, and that's what our decision point is.
So, okay, would the federal EPA come in on this then?
The-
If we called them in?
Federal EPA reviews our permits. You can ask them, but they are just like the rest of the public. They can comment on our permits.
They can't do anything about it?
And they can't really, what they can do is if they don't like something, they can actually sue the state on a state permit, because we have our own program. They have given us that authority. So they can comment, they can make adverse comments, which at this point, I have not heard that they're going to. Typically they will tell me ahead of time. They will say that they've got comments, but I have not heard anything from them at this point.
So we're gonna make some calls.
So,
Yeah, can I just,
real quick, because I really do need to
Okay.
open this up so that way people
Okay.
can make their official
well, just
comments.
let me make a general comment. I appreciate the fact that they have sent you out here, but they've kind of sent you out here all alone by yourself without all the information that you really need. I understand that we have a lot of concerns about the air quality, but when you're asking for public comment and you're talking about air particulate in the air, there are going to be health impacts. That's logical. And for the DNR to send you, and so I don't want you to take this personally, for the DNR to send you out here by yourself and essentially hang you out to dry.
Yeah.
Because and you know what? I think that you are very well intentioned. I think that the majority of people that work for the DNR want to do the right thing, but they are obviously scripting you very tightly, hanging you by your job description, and that's unfair to us because there are obviously real health concerns. And we've had issues with ADM in our neighborhood for decades, and there is still grain particulate flying all over the place. Just ask the roofing company right across the street. I just talked to them yesterday. There's still grain particulate all over their windshields, and we smell the emissions. So don't take that. That's not about you. You're doing the best job you can. But this is the Iowa DNR that we have, and that's why we also have 725 polluted water bodies in the state. So I'm just making my point.
Yeah,
Don't
I'll
take that
address.
personally.
No,
You're a good guy.
I'll address some of that, a little bit later. As far as, again, this project itself, what we're reviewing is only on those VOC emissions, because that's the only thing that actually triggered for the federal program.
Got it.
There are other pollutants that, of course, they do have particulate. They have sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxides, some of the other pollutants that are there.
Right.
But for this project itself, that's the only thing that I'm addressing. Now, Polk County is also issuing permits separately on some of the other pollutants.
Right.
So that's kind of how it works. It depends on what triggers, and so,
Right.
I've done quite a few of these in my almost 20 years. I've done a lot of public hearings, and I've had from no one showing up to over 150 show up.
Right.
So you
Well,
know.
don't let the
And I
small
try to-
number here fool you,
Yeah,
because
I-
we've been in this battle a long
Yeah,
time.
I try to keep up with everything, you know, it's
Yeah.
my project, I try to know everything about it.
Got it.
There's sometimes that, you know, like I said,
Right.
I don't have everything memorized about every pollutant. You know,
Right.
There's 187 toxic air pollutants, which hexane is one of them.
Right.
So I try to make sure that information's available in the fact sheet I do, and that's how we end up, we try to have all that in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that, I would like to open it up, have the official comment period so people can actually make their comments, either written or here, and then I can try to answer some questions after that. You can ask the same question afterward that you leave here, but this is for the official portion. You know, I just need to make sure we have enough time to do that, because like I said, the folks out front, you know, they want to be able to leave at 8 o'clock too. So with that, I will turn the tape recorder on. I will give everyone an ample opportunity to make their comments, and then once that's turned off, you know, once everyone's had a chance, I will go ahead and turn it off, and then I'll open up for some just general questions again.
I just
So-
have a quick process question.
Sure.
In terms of if a question is asked today and it needs a follow-up with an email, is there another opportunity to provide comment? It sounds like the comment period closes September 11th.
It closes September 11th.
So it doesn't sound like we might have answers before the opportunity to comment again.
The comments I receive here, what I will try to do is I will try to respond to as many comments as I can, you know, as far as after this closes, after I close this. I will try to respond to as much here, and if I can't, I will try to get back to you right away, you know, before then. Any comments that are official, we wait until the end of the comment period, the close of the comment period, because we often get we may get comments in writing that are basically the same comments, so we try to avoid, you know, duplicating responses. So we combine any comments that are similar, and then send out an official written response to everyone.
Was there a public hearing before this?
No, this is the required public hearing of the air quality permit the draft permits that we have.
Because 2 days isn't a great deal of turnaround.
Well, it did start. It started, you know, almost 30 days ago.
Or sure, but in
So-
terms of questions and answers, I mean, for a lot of us, this is new foreign information, and so just to be able to comment in an educated way would be helpful to kind of learn some more background without having to read 200, 300 pages of material.
Well,
which I know that you.
Yeah, well, and that's why I do, you know, the support document I write. I know it may be a little lengthy, but I take all that information that I've received, you know, the thousands of pages, and reduce it down to, you know, about 30 or less is what we try to do. So, you know, that is out there, like I said, but you know, that's partly what our process is overall. So, and that's typical of the PSD program itself. You know, it's a 30-day comment period. I've heard some states even shorter than that, but we have, by rule, it's 30 days. We do the public hearing close to the end, so that way it gives more people, it gives everyone a chance to actually look at all the documentation, a better chance at that point. So, because like you said, there is a lot of information.
I just have two quick questions to piggyback off that. You just said that gives us an opportunity to look at the documentation. I'm assuming that's the documentation that you do not have, correct?
I don't have it here. It's
right.
all.
So the point is moot then, right? We don't have a chance to look at the documentation before the 2 days is up that is being taken into account.
It is available online. It's also available with the Des Moines Library.
Which eats into our 2 days of comments. Regardless, what happens to the comments after we make them?
Like I said, I take all the comments, and then I prepare a document, an official response to everyone that comments, or anyone that wants it, and that we put that online. I send a copy of that out to everyone. It's a written official response to all questions. So, like I said, with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the recorder on, and people can just come up and talk into it. You don't really have to have it real close. It picks up sound pretty well. Like I said, and then there's paper there that you can make written comments. Like I said, once everyone's had a chance, then I'll go ahead and turn it off, and I'll try to answer as many questions as possible.
Will you have a suggested time limit on the oral comment?
I don't really have a set time. Everyone needs to have an opportunity. We're a small enough group. I've had a large enough group where we've had a limit to the 3 minutes. But in this case, if people wanted to talk quite a bit, they could. Typically, within about half an hour, most people, everyone's had a chance. Anyone that wants to make comments has made their comment verbally. So we'll see how far it goes, but that's typically what happens.
My name is Jeff Whitty, president of the Fairmont Park Neighborhood Association, which borders ADM, which just really has a big effect on our 5,000 residents in our neighborhood association. Questions that I have is, first of all, we have elementary school within a block to maybe a block and a half of this plant. I would like to know if any of this stuff that's being polluted in the air, how it's going to affect these young kids, kindergarten age, maybe 4 or 5, all the way up through, 7, 8 years old probably when they graduate there. That is my main concern on this. So, if possible, I would like to have a nice explanation on this and have someone that really knows about this, maybe, because Chris said that he's not really capable of comment on the health of kids. Somebody that would know about this, please contact me. My cell phone is 515-208-9532. The email is jwpresfairmont@gmail.com. And I appreciate all the comments. Thank you.
My name is Sheree Mortiz. I'm a member of the Fairmont Park Neighborhood Association. And one of my first concerns about these public hearings, this public comment period, is that a lot of the focus is completely divorced from the reality of what we are experiencing from ADM in our neighborhoods. This discussion today has been narrowed down to air quality, and one would think that would include odor, and that it would include grain particulate that's flying through the air and landing on a roofing business across the street. This defies common sense, and that's why public comment periods like this are highly suspect by people in the community. I also have some concerns about what benchmarks must ADM reach to responsibly ensure that improvements have been completed before increasing production loads are allowed on the system. In other words, who's going to provide the oversight and the inspection? Our experience in the state of Iowa with polluted water bodies is that voluntary compliance doesn't work. And so we would hope that the Iowa DNR would have adequate staff to do inspections to make sure that they're reaching benchmarks, and to make sure that the technology that they are promising to install actually gets installed, and more importantly, that it actually works before they're allowed to increase their load in production. I also have a concern about whether or not the DNR will use their authority to inspect all those new technologies on a timely basis, and that it is reported to the public. I think Jeff Whitty, our president of our association, has expressed concern for our elementary school, but I'm expressing concern for our neighborhood in general. And so we have people of all age range. We have people who already have compromised immune systems and compromised lung capacity. They have lung diseases and chronic conditions. And again, it defies common sense to say, well, we don't really know what the impacts are. They are probably out there. But this whole process is so tedious. And it's a burden on everyday people to suddenly have to try to become an expert. We should have people that are working in city government and state government that are working for us. And I don't see that happening right now.
Alan Mormon, 3320 Kinsey, Des Moines, Iowa, 515-657-7879, ALJ